Good morning. You're fat. Oh my, you have gained a lot of weight, haven't you? What happened? You used to be so muscular. Oh, sweetie, you really shouldn't wear that style of insert clothing type here with your figure. You know, there are great clothing stores now for girls your size. Have you tried insert diet, pill, workout routine here? It could really help with your weight. You've really let yourself go. Would you say those things to your daughter, to your sister, to your mother, to your best friend? Would you look them in the eye and say any of those things? Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't do that. So I'm going to start off today by doing a little exercise. I'd like you just to get comfortable wherever you're seated. Just put down your pens, your papers if you have them, and just for the next 60 seconds, we're going to close our eyes. And I want you to take a minute or two, or 60 seconds, so a minute, to think about all of the mean and nasty and negative words that you have thought about yourself over the last day, the last week, the last month, the last year, the last decade. You get the idea. So get comfortable in your chair, close your eyes down, and just allow your mind to wander. Think about all of those things. I'm going to be quiet now for the next 60 seconds. Now, before you open your eyes, I want you to imagine that all of those words that you just thought about, all of those phrases, those things that you brought into your mind about your body, your looks, yourself in general, all of those words were written with a Sharpie marker on your skin. Would you still be beautiful? Take a deep breath in. And as you slowly exhale, open your eyes. Now, that last 60 seconds I'm quite certain that it was difficult for some of you, maybe all of you. I know that it is difficult for me to do that. But I want you to just take a moment right now and identify where you're feeling those words. Where do you feel them in your body? Some of us will feel them in our heart, in our chest. Some will feel that in our throat, some in the pit of our stomach. Some of you might have brought the shoulders up. When we think of these negative things, we think of our bodies as nasty kind of places for us to live in. This is what happens. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Yeah. Today, though, we're going to talk about 6 techniques, super simple techniques that are going to help us reframe the way that we think about and treat our bodies. Excuse me. So This will be kind of a place for you to perhaps begin or even restart your body kindness practice or journey, no matter what your age is. I was in my early 50s, for just FYI, when I started this journey. Whether you've tried all the things, all the things that are out there already, you've resigned yourself to the fact that, this is it, this is what my body is going to look like, and forget it, I'm not going to try anything else. We're going to use these 6 simple techniques to help us restart or just start our journey into being kind to our bodies. All right. So let us move along here. Sorry, let me just get the next slide going here. Okay, so we'll get rolling. If we can move along to the next slide. Bear with me just one moment here. Don't seem to have control of the slides. Okay, so we'll move along. So picture it. I'm 16 years old. That's how old I was when I remember being wildly aware of the size of my hips, the curve of my stomach, the width of my thighs, how my butt looked in jeans. And by the way, those jeans were Jordache jeans because, it was the 80s. I distinctly recall thinking that my body was all wrong. It was wrong. So here I am, 16 years old, 5'8", 99 pounds, a 22-inch waist, perfect teeth. I was that teenage girl who you looked across the room and you could see my collarbones sticking out. And I truly and honestly believed that I was fat. Truly and honestly believed that I was fat. Fast forward a number of years. I did what most of us do. I had children. I got married. I started living a regular life. I was a busy mom. I had a job. I took care of my home and my family. And really, what ended up happening for me is I just stopped worrying about my appearance. I stopped any form of self-care because, come on, I was busy. You know how it is. I didn't consciously just decide one day that that's it, I'm not going to take care of myself anymore. It just slowly got lost in the goings on of daily life, right? There was this slippery slope right in front of me, and I jumped right on it. So I didn't do anything to really take care of myself. I started binge eating, and the reason that I had for doing that was simply because I was so busy, I didn't have time to sit down. By the time I got home from work and got dinner ready for the kids and got them organized and fed, then got them in the bath and into their pajamas and ready for bed, made sure that dinner was ready for my husband because he came home late from work. By the time all of that was done and the laundry was put on and I got the lunches made for tomorrow and, finally got to sit down with a cup of tea or probably a glass of wine, I would stand at the kitchen counter like many of us do and just eat whatever was left over. And then in the morning, because I probably didn't eat breakfast, I would stop at, the fast food joint and I would get myself a breakfast sandwich and a coffee with way too much cream and sugar in it and carry on. So I was subsisting on caffeine and fast food or, leftovers and alcohol. And I was so busy, you know how it is, that I didn't have time to exercise. And really, did I need to exercise? Because I was working so hard chasing after two kids that there was no reason for me to exercise. So I fell into that place of binge eating, too much drinking, because that was my way to alleviate stress, no exercise of any kind, and a general sense of apathy. And then as time goes on, all of a sudden, out of the blue, it seemed to me anyway, that my 25-year relationship ended just like that, with my husband packing up a suitcase and walking out the door into a new relationship. And so, in hindsight, of course, I understand that there were certainly signs of this coming on. But, what I later learned is that my marriage had been over long before he actually walked out the door. And he had had a relationship with another woman for at least a decade prior to our marriage ending. So that just allowed me to fall deeper and deeper and deeper into the path that I was already on, the path of, not taking care of myself and thinking that I wasn't worth anything, and that, there was no reason for me to take care of myself, and that no wonder he had left. Look at me, those kinds of things. But what I knew is that if I was to survive, I had to do something. I had to make a big, bold change. I didn't know what that was, but after 2 years of living in the grief of my relationship ending, living in the grief of what I had allowed my body to become, blaming myself for all of those things, I finally got to that point where it was literally do or die. And so I hopped on a plane and I went to Cuba. I had to get away from everything and everyone that was my life at that time. And I couldn't really afford the trip. I did not have the money for it. So I put it on my Visa card, not knowing how I was going to pay for it. But I knew, honestly, that if I was to survive, that I had to do this. So I spent most of the week and a bit that I was in Cuba walking the beach. I would walk the beach. I would get up in the morning. I would walk. I would have a delicious breakfast, beautiful fresh fruits, and coffee, of course, because, it's coffee. And I would spend, the morning back on the beach walking and walking. And then I'd have a delicious lunch. And I would not drink any alcohol the whole time that I was there, because I really wanted to take that opportunity to see what was going on with me. Clear head. I walked the beach. I ate good food. I did not drink. I laid in the sun. I cried. I laughed. And I slept. I felt amazing. And while I was walking that beach, I was thinking about, how can I get out of this space that I'm in? How can I get out of this place? And on that beach is where the Body Kindness Sisterhood and eventually the Ditch the Diet Academy was born. Now, of course, they didn't just pop into my mind in full form, but that's where the idea of the Body Kindness Sisterhood came from. It was me being on that beach, making a drastic change. Now, at the time, I didn't know what these things were going to be. I just knew that I had lost my way. I had lost my way, and I needed to find beauty and joy and empowerment in myself and in my body. That I most certainly wasn't the only woman who was going to need this. I was 100% sure that if I could find a way to, dare I say, save myself, that I would make a priority to help other women find their way through the minutia of body image issues and diet culture baloney, right? It's everywhere. And we all, I'm quite certain, at some time suffer from it. So I returned from Cuba knowing that I was ready to take responsibility for my life, how it was going to unfold going forward, what I was going to do about the things that I was not happy with. And I made a commitment to myself that I was ready and willing to do the work. I realized finally that nobody else was going to do it for me, and that if I wanted to make a change, I was responsible to do that work. So I searched and I searched for programs out there that could address the why. Why did I have issues with my body? What is it just the food? Is it just that I don't exercise? I looked and I found lots of programs that were offering to teach me how to eat this and not that, how to work out, how to mix the workout with the eating, those kinds of things. There's tons of programs like that out there. But I knew that that's not what I needed. I knew that I needed a program that would address what was going on in my mind, in my body, and in my soul. And so I decided that if I couldn't find exactly what I needed for myself, I would create it myself. So over the last number of years, I have transformed my attitude towards my body image. I've reset the way that I look at dieting and exercise, and I've reached many of the goals that I've set for myself. Now, you'll notice that I said many of the goals that I set for myself. I don't want you to think that, this was one of those one and done super easy journeys, right? It's not. This is not. When we work on our mind and we work on our body and we're trying to reframe the way we think about something, it's arduous work. So it's hard. It's gut-wrenching work sometimes. And I've had failures. I've had missteps. I've had to restart. This is lifelong work, but it's so, so worth it. And I promise you that if you are willing to do the work, you will find success. I promise that. So, diets don't work. Let me say that again. Diets don't work. You cannot be kind to your body and be on a diet at the same time. The two don't go together. Think about that for a moment. So when we deprive ourselves of our favorite foods, or we restrict what we eat, or how we're eating, how can we be kind to our body when we're doing that? The answer, of course, is we can't. When we're focused only on weight loss, we're telling ourselves that our body is the problem, and that once our body size gets smaller, then the problem is gone. When we do this, we start from a place of shame and blame, and it's never the body, never ever the body that needs to get rid of the weight. It's our mind. You cannot bully yourself into change, whether it is a weight loss journey, whether it is learning to run a marathon, whether it is finding a new career, whether it is starting a yoga practice. You cannot do it. You can't guilt yourself there either. So when we're talking about body image and body kindness, if we are coming at this from a place of blame and shame, we will never, ever succeed. We need to learn to give ourselves grace. We need to learn to give ourselves space. And we need to learn to give ourselves permission to try and to fail, and then to get back up and try again. So let's jump into the 6 steps to begin our body kindness journey. So step number 1, get rid of your scale. If you have a scale in your house, get rid of it. Really, I'm serious. Get it out of your house. Throw it in the garbage. Don't even give it to a friend. Throw it out. The one and only place, in my opinion, that you should ever be weighed is in your doctor's office. And the only time that your doctor should be weighing you is if it has some sort of medical relevance to a treatment that you're on or something along those lines. The number on the scale means nothing. It means nothing. Think about what happens when you step on a scale and you see the number, right? Think about how it makes you feel right in that very moment. So many of us who are trying to be kind to ourselves, if we get on the scale and we see the number hasn't moved in a week, that just throws that kind of blame and shame right back into things, doesn't it? The bottom line is and you know, this is not news to you. I know this, but the human body is an amazing thing, and it fluctuates up and down day to day, hour to hour, moment to moment. So if we're getting on the scale in the morning every day, or we're getting on the scale twice a day, our body is doing different things. So it's not a true reflection of our health. It's not a true reflection of our wellness. It just serves to set us up for blame and shame. So repeat after me if you can. I will not allow the scale to measure my worth. The number on the scale means nothing. So please get rid of your scale. That's step number 1. Step number 2, remove all diet talk from your life. Now, I want you to consider this. There is no such thing as good food and bad food. So this might be a new concept for you. There's no such thing as good food and bad food. When we're talking about food, I want you to try this instead. Power food and pleasure food. Power food and pleasure food. So remember, we mentioned a little while ago that we can't and shouldn't be restricting ourselves from eating, right? So we need to have both power foods and pleasure foods in our diet. And this is why. If we don't allow ourselves to incorporate pleasure foods, now for me, the pleasure food is the New York cheesecake, or salt and vinegar chips. I go on both sides of the salty and the sweet. If we don't allow ourselves to have pleasure foods in our diet, that sets us up to binge, right? If you don't have something, you want it. And I don't know about you, but every once in a while, that inner 5-year-old starts in the back of my head. And it's like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm having the whole bag of chips, right? But if I've incorporated, a beautiful small slice of my favorite New York cheesecake in, my Friday night dinner, I'm more apt to just enjoy that beautiful food and not think, oh, when am I going to get it next? When am I going to get it next? I better have 5 pieces just in case it never comes across my plate again. So it's important for us to incorporate power foods and pleasure foods and to not classify the food that we are feeding and fueling our bodies with as good and bad. That puts the blame and the shame back into the game, doesn't it? So let's start talking differently about how we're fueling our bodies. So this particular topic about the power foods and the pleasure foods is really a huge part of the academy that I run. And we dig deep into these kinds of things during that particular academy. So let's move on to step number 3. I want you to think about getting rid of diet plans or anything that looks like one out of your home, your day, your life. Okay, so I want you to think of things like this: the 17-day diet, the grapefruit diet, the cabbage soup diet. I've tried that one often. I'm sure some of you have as well. The baby food diet. I'm not even going to explain that one to you because I think you can figure it out. the 5-bite diet. This one is ridiculous. So this diet is one where you create your meal just as you would normally. You put it on your plate in front of you, you eat 5 bites of it, and then you throw the rest in the garbage. I mean, come on, the 5-bite diet. You don't want any of these diet plans or anything like those in your home, in your nutrition plan, anything like that. You also want to take a look at diet books that are masquerading as cookbooks. I've had a ton of them in my library in the past. Think about this. Think about, the keto diet book, the 2020 diet book, the Scarsdale diet book, those kinds of things. They look like cookbooks, and yes, they do have recipes in them. But all of these diet plans, if you will, are about restriction in some form or another. So you don't want that. You don't want that as part of your life, because you can't be kind to your body when you're on a diet, when you're restricting something. And then think of plans like Weight Watchers or Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, those kinds of things. Again, restrictive. You can't be kind to your body when you're restricting your nutrition. So get rid of any of that out of your life and out of your nutrition plan. Excuse me. Number 4. So kind of tied in with number 3, the get rid of the diet plan. You're going to get rid of so-called diet foods out of your nutrition. Prepackaged foods, and this is really common knowledge now. Prepackaged foods, highly processed foods that do not fuel your body and most certainly do not promote body kindness. You don't want to, when you're trying to get healthy and you're trying to learn how to fuel yourself properly, eating highly processed foods is physically bad for you. And it also doesn't teach you a lot about, getting a connection with the food that you're eating if you just have to take it out of the freezer and throw it into a microwave, right? So think about fresh whole foods. This is the way to go. And this is starting to become more common knowledge as each day and week go by. Think about, shopping the outside of the grocery store instead of the inside aisle. So the outsides of the grocery store is where you're going to find those whole, good, fresh foods. Now, whether you are a vegetarian or you eat meat, doesn't matter. You want to, make sure that you're doing your best on the outside of the grocery store, or, visiting your local market or things like that. Now, what I hear a lot when we get onto this topic is, yeah, but I can't afford it. It's so expensive. And, you're right, it is. But here's the thing. You want to, as a vegetarian, I obviously buy lots of vegetables. And I would like nothing more than to buy fresh, whole, organic vegetables, from my local farmer. I would love to do that. But the bottom line is, it sometimes doesn't fit my budget. And so the idea here to not have this be another extra added problem or concern to your day-to-day is to make sure that you're purchasing your fresh whole foods to what fits your budget. So for example, I live in Nova Scotia, Canada, and right now when I go to the grocery store, a head of iceberg lettuce, not organic, just a head of iceberg lettuce, is $8, 8 Canadian dollars. So you can imagine what an organic head of lettuce would be. So you buy what fits your budget. Do your best with that. And even try and maybe fit in 1 or 2 new items into your grocery shop. So if you know that you only have X number of dollars, maybe you want to try that $8 head of lettuce, or maybe you want to try a new vegetable that you haven't tried before. Or if you are a meat eater, see if you can find something that's on sale. You get the idea. So the best fresh whole foods that fit your budget, because you don't want to add the extra stress of budgetary issues on when you're trying to do these new things to make yourself feel more healthy and be more kind to your body. So that's number 4. Number 5, let's move on to number 5. Whoops. Now, this is a little controversial for some people, but I live by it. Stop tracking calories right now. Stop tracking calories. So being kind to your body means learning how to recognize how your body feels when you fuel it. So part of the problem that we have as women who are on this kind of road where we're trying to maybe lose weight, we're trying to just feel better about ourselves, we're trying to love the skin we're in, as it were, is we have absolutely lost that mind-body connection. And especially when it comes to food, if you don't know what your body feels like when it's full, then you never know when to stop eating. And you just keep eating and eating until you get to that place where you have that Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner all the time. You went, oh, I shouldn't have eaten so much, right? And you just have to undo your pants, or you wear the stretchy pants. That's me. We need to make that reconnection to how our body feels when we fuel it. And this is something that takes practice. This is something that if you are not aware, it's going to take time for you to realize, oh, I didn't eat enough. Why am I hungry 10 minutes later? I didn't eat enough. Oh, I ate too much. I'm very uncomfortable. So it's going to take you some time. It's going to take you some practice, but I encourage you to do this. And this is where, if you're tracking your calories, you're not actually tracking what the body feels like. You're tracking the number. You're tracking the number that food represents. And our body doesn't connect with the number. Our body connects with the food. So stop tracking your calories. Learn to recognize how your body feels when you're fueling it. Okay? Tracking calories is not going to help you with that. Mind-body connection will help you with that. Mindful eating will help you with that. This is another big, big topic that, we can't delve into too deeply today, but we do delve into that in great length. We talk about types of hunger. We talk about mind-body connection. We talk about fueling our bodies and recognizing signals and things like that in the academy. So keep that in mind. And then finally, the 6th tip is shifting your energy. So oftentimes when we are on these types of journeys and we're trying to reconnect with how it feels to live in this skin, we need to go outside of ourselves to come inside of ourselves. And sometimes we need some tools to do that. So this might be something like meditation, a meditation practice, positive affirmations. They're all over the place. Gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling is one of my favorites. And it's something that I do every single day, every single morning. It's one of my non-negotiables. And I simply sit down with my cup of coffee because, I love the caffeine, and my gratitude journal. And it's not a big, long task that I do. I simply open my journal and I write down each morning 3 things, just 3 things that I'm grateful for. 1, 2, 3. I don't write paragraphs, anything. Sometimes it's just words, just 3 words. So, anything like that that's going to help you. Smudging, maybe, walking in the forest. If you are not in the wintertime right now, maybe you'd like to get outside in your bare feet and just walk on Mother Earth and just make some connection. So something that's going to shift your energy. This is going to help kind of cue the body, cue the brain that it's time to do something good for yourself. So finding something that works for you is of the utmost importance, because I can give you tons of suggestions, but unless you try them and find the thing that specifically works for you, then it's not a waste of time, but it's maybe not as effective for you. So I encourage you to try 3, 4, 5 different things if you don't already have something that will help you along and get you that ability to shift the energy. Now, I do this in the morning, but you might find that you need to do this throughout the day because sometimes we get stuck, don't we? So in the beginning of my journey, a few years back, I would do this kind of energy shifting exercise right before every single meal, because what that would help me do is it would help signal my brain that I was about to fuel my body, which means I had to pay attention to how I was fueling my body. So it kind of helped with, both of those kind of stop tracking the calories and shifting the energy at the same time. So those are the six steps. They're easy peasy, but they're hard at the same time, right? So listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a woman who knows what it feels like to not feel good in the skin you're in. I'm a woman who has been where perhaps you are today, and I can help. So the Body Kindness Sisterhood is where we gather to support one another on this journey. This is where we start. So this is my free community on Facebook, where I offer free weekly mini trainings on Wednesdays at 1:15 Eastern. Just kind of little 10 or some 5, 10 or 15-minute kind of mini trainings where I pop on live in the group on Wednesdays and share something that I've come across, or maybe that can help you on your journey. It's where we share whatever is on our mind about our body kindness journey, our struggles, our successes. And also that's where I run my boot camps. Now I open up my Ditch the Diet Academy 3 times a year. It's a 10-week intensive mastermind, and we go over a lot of the things that we just talked about. It's a beautiful place for you if you're ready to really dig deep and start doing some more intensive work. So that's available to you. But in the group, in the Body Kindness group on Facebook, that's where you're going to get all the notifications for the boot camp that comes up. I have a 4-day boot camp that I run just before I open up the academy that kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into what we're going to be learning about in the mastermind. So it's kind of an intro to you, free of charge, of course. And I would love to have you in the group. So the question that I have for you today, ladies, is when you're ready to start your body kindness journey, are you ready to go all in? Are you ready to get the support that you need? And are you ready to share your experiences with other women who are on this journey as well? If you're ready, go right ahead and jump on over to Facebook and join the Sisterhood. Free for you, free for me, and such a value to have all of us come together and learn. So I hope that you've learned something new today, or at least I've given you some food for thought, no pun intended. And I look forward to seeing you over in the Body Kindness Sisterhood group on Facebook.